when I have an appointment.
I know you add that
I absolutely hate it at 3 o'clock in the morning when you're dead sound asleep and the pain wakes you up.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're sitting there on the toilet and you're about to fall back to sleep again.
Mm-hmm. Then boom! Right.
Yeah. Couldn't you have picked a better time?
No, but it really is inconvenient when you have an appointment.
It is.
And everything, and it just.
And it has a tendency to strike you like that.
Oh yeah.
It's not like you know about it 3 hours ahead of time.
Oh no, I had just I didn't really. I had the slightest little warning of it, but it didn't sink in exactly what this was a warning of,
until you feel a little wetness.
But but when it struck, when it was like the kaboom struck, I was like, no wonder I thought it would be a good idea to like hurry on in there to the bathroom.
I'm in for a long ride. Yep.
And that old porcelain pony can be.
And it was just, I know,
hard to sit on sometimes.
Yeah, I just know it was something I ate, and it ran through me, and it's,
It was not the tea.
No.
And it had nothing to do with the candy DVDs.
And it had nothing to do with thisismyband.com.
Right.
That's right.
But that's a good idea.
Cake.
And
that might have been the culprit. Right
no, I didn't know. I hadn't had any of that. I was sat there and tried to run back through my mind. What had I consumed, and who knows.
Sometimes it can be a lack of consumption too.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know.
Or waiting too long to eat.
I don't know what it was, but anyway, it's over now.
Or if you drink a lot of apple juice.
I'm sorry that I was an hour late for getting on.
Now we know what happens.
Getting on the air. I tried to get here so that I would be only 30 minutes late for getting on the air, but by the time I got here, and Jonathan had already set up a camera. See, I was calling, if I had enough people standing around who are regulars on the show, I could have said, just put everybody to work and put the show on.
Well, I would have went on. I didn't. I was in the editing suite, and I didn't. I didn't realize.
Right. But I couldn't
looked at my watch.
I couldn't get anybody on the phone, and I wasn't into leaving voicemails because then they're just going to call me back
2 hours later.
Tomorrow, I figure tomorrow.
They're like, I'm on my way, John. Well, I'm glad you're coming up.
Well, maybe Don Young got all your phone calls.
At 775-7212.
All you citizens, speak up. That's right. And what time will that show will be on tomorrow?
No, it's on every Wednesday.
Wednesday. It was on Wednesday.
4 to 7.
4 to 7.
Tonight, from 8 to 9, is Sound Off Buncombe, and that is getting some great reviews. It's myself and Richard Bernier, and that's it. That's even got your seal of approval and 2 thumbs up.
Does it?
You said it did.
Well, I don't watch it. I'll be honest. I don't watch every episode. But what I have watched, I have found to be very entertaining. And you I think you scooped the national press on the issue of the upside down flag out on.
And we see what happened. The charges got dropped.
Charges got dropped. And they hired a legal consultant 24/7 for policemen to call in case there's any question before they enter a situation on whether it's constitutional or not for them to be.
That's a nice thing for policemen to be able to find that out before they break someone's door down.
Yeah, they can
bust
call
their window out.
24/7. They can call and say, "Listen, we got a situation here. What's our stance? What are we breaking any constitutional laws or
Right.
And
I got the impression that this policeman in this particular issue was he wasn't really all that concerned about whether he was breaking.
He was not acting on behalf of Buncombe County.
Breaking any constitutional laws. He was just breaking a window or something like that.
He was acting upon himself and his buddies down there at the armory, telling him that he needed to go do something about that. And I can imagine there's all those sayings. There's not a hair here, or you don't have any of these, or whatever. If you go do something. And so he just went up there and acted on himself, and it had nothing to do with Buncombe County, and now he's in trouble for it. And Van Duncan's doing the right thing and investigating it and dropping charges against the Coons. And
how do you like Van Duncan's? I think we've got an improvement over what's going on.
I like what he's doing so far. I really do. I think he's getting a grasp on it and taking care of things. And
it seems like we've come up a notch. Is what I'm saying. Do you feel that way? Do you feel like some improvements?
I think some integrity has been restored.
Yeah. There seemed to be some question, and
No,
things
no,
are
don't
going.
get me wrong. I like Bobby Medford too.
I'm not trying to put somebody down, but
Right.
it seems like
But it seems like things are running a little smoother.
things seem to be coming up.
And things are getting,
Right.
old cases are
And-
getting solved.
Right, and I'm not saying that everything's hunky down dory
I read
either.
something about a bribery scandal this morning.
Oh,
It was in
really?
the paper.
That was for the former deputies. They're
Yeah.
retired.
I'm hoping.
That's
I'm
still
hoping
on-
somebody.
That's a federal investigation looking
Yes.
into the video gaming machines, and
Yes.
it's ongoing.
I could
and
tell
keep
you
reading
something.
the paper because
I
it's
could
a
tell you
room
something
that's
about
not
that.
sweeping.
I could tell you about those poker machines and stuff. Those video gaming
Well,
machines.
I guess the front page today, and I didn't get to read the article, so I don't know what the article said, but it just had in the headlines that the guy that owned Henderson, whatever his name was, Mr. Henderson, I guess, that owned Henderson Amusement,
Right.
is in trouble right now.
Mhm.
It stated that he has admitted that he had 2 sheriffs in West North Carolina on his payroll.
Yeah.
Not deputy sheriffs, but 2 sheriffs.
One was working for the FBI.
So,
They
I
didn't
didn't get to
mention
read
the other
article.
one. And he said the quote was that they were expensive. That was his quote. That's what he
All
was.
right. Okay. I'll tell you a story. Okay. I'll tell you. I'll tell you a story without naming names. Okay, at one point in my life, I went to work in the coin-operated amusement business. All right, now the way I got into the coin-operated amusement business is I was going through the want ads, looking in the newspaper, and there was an ad that said looking for electronics technician with some knowledge of microprocessors. So I said, well, that sounds like they're asking for me. So I went to this place, and when I got there, it was a coin-operated amusement place. They had video games, and they had pinball machines, and it was coin-operated amusement stuff. And what happened was, way back in those days, back in the dark ages, soon after I had graduated from school in electronics and stuff, they had a big layoff from NASA. A lot of aerospace engineers had been laid off, and they were all right on the cutting edge of the latest microprocessors and stuff like that at that time. And Bally Amusement Company, Bally Pinball Company, and Bally and Midway were together. Hired a bunch of them up at once, new engineers to work for them, and all of a sudden pinball machines changed from being electromechanical devices into electronic devices, and they suddenly had digital readouts on them.
I remember that. You couldn't tilt them. You couldn't.
Instead of having little wheels that spun around for number 1, 2, 3, they would change their numbers and stuff like that, and the old guys who had been working on pinball machines for years suddenly didn't know what to do with them. And so they had to hire someone who had some knowledge of microprocessors. So this guy, I went in to apply for this job, and he held up one of the scoring units that tells what your score is on it and all, where the numbers ride up and stuff, and he held it up in its circuit board, and he says, "Do you know what this is?" And I looked at it, and I looked at the chips on it, and I said, "It looks like a binary to 7-segment decoder and drivers for it." And he says, "You are hired." And so that began my several years of working with coin-operated amusements. I must say I had an awful lot of fun working with a lot of jukeboxes and a lot of music and stuff. In that time, we ran a lot of jukeboxes. I worked for 2 different outfits. I worked for this guy. I'll have to tell this whole story because it helps explain. I have a particular outlook on law enforcement agents and different things, and this works into it. Now, this same fella had someone else working for him. He had, we will call this other guy Army Buddy. He had an Army buddy who he'd been in the service with, and when he got ready to start his coin-operated amusement business, he called his Army buddy up, and he asked his Army buddy, "Will you move, you and your family, from Texas to North Carolina to work with and help me get this business started? And if you will work for me for," don't remember if it was 7 years or 8 years or 10 years or some number of years like that. I want to say 8 years, but maybe it was 10. And he says, "If you will do that, then at the end of that period of time, you will own," and I don't remember, I want to say it was probably 10% of the company. Besides being, you'll be paid a wage and all the whole time and all. But at the end of that time, if you'll come up here and help me get this business started, then after 10 years of working for me, you'll own 10% of the company. Okay, so he had Army Buddy working for him, and then he hired me working for him. All right, and Army Buddy and I worked for him for a year or two, and one of the first jobs that I was put on was illegal gambling machine that he had in a location, which made so much money. He kept the money.
Did you fix it, or
yes?
So it would pay out. It would increase the odds or decrease the odds.
Decrease the
odds of paying out.
Okay. That's another thing about this guy. This guy, when he went into a situation, his split with the house, he did a 60-40 split.
Right.
He always took 60, house took 40.
Right.
Everything was always in his favor. When he brought the machine, he brought the machine into the shop, and he put some money in it, and he won the big jackpot. Well, one of the things was that one of my jobs was to fix the machine so that it would never pay off the big jackpot.
Never big jackpot.
Never pay off the big jackpot. And the one time it did pay off the big jackpot was he was playing with it in the shop, and it happened to him. I thought he was going to have a heart attack. No, this machine is not to pay off on the big jackpot. So to give you an idea, all that's pretty crooked, All right. We would get calls in the middle of the night, depending on if you were on call. We took turns being on call, and depending on who was on call, we would get a call in the middle of the night, and we'd have to go
repair a machine.
Yeah, but we'd also have to go remove the illegal machines from the places because we would get an early call before the
inspectors
before the authorities arrived and stuff like that. So this and okay, he from this one machine, the first one I ever worked on, from this one machine, he kept all the money that machine brought in a separate account, and he bought from the monies from that machine. I think about something like 24 or more fairly expensive pinball machines and stuff. From that machine financed a whole new section of the operation and stuff like that, and we put those machines in every Pizza Hut out there and stuff like that. And anyway, it was very lucrative. And okay. While I was there, the time period was coming to a close on let's say the 10 years for Army Buddy. And so the original guy started a second business, a distributorship. And he began selling off all the equipment that the first business owned. And he had us actually delivering pool tables to people's houses and stuff like that, and being paid with checks that were made out to the new business.
Right.
And when the 10 years...
Before he dissolved the old business?
When the 10 years was up. Well, see, Army Buddy went to him and said, I know we're friends and all, but my wife is saying, that time is coming close and all, and you don't have anything in writing, and my wife has said, get something in writing. And so he says, no problem, we'll get something in writing. And they went to an attorney and they wrote up a contract, got it all in writing.
And he liquidated his assets.
And then as soon as he did that, then he started a new company.
Right.
And all the assets of the old company were sold, and all the monies were paid to the new company. And by the time Army Buddy was supposed to
get his 10%,
get his 10%, the assets were zero. There was no 10% to be had.
Right.
And Army Buddy packed up his family, and they all went back to Texas.
Well, if you work for a crook, or you know that there's dealings like that going on, then expect the same.
Right.
Don't expect yourself to be treated any different from your employer as the practices that your employer practices.
There's several different aspects of that I've always looked at ever since when I make a judgment on situations in life now. And one is that this man refused to go into a situation except on a 60-40 split his favor. and he wouldn't. So now when I deal with somebody on something, I always go, well, let's go 50-50. And if they don't want to do that, if they have to have a split that's to their favor, I won't work with them.
Right.
Because I worked for two different people. After working for him, I went to work for another guy, and he did a 50-50 split with anybody. And sometimes I'd have to go out and do collections and stuff like that. And he would say, when you finish counting the money, if you've got a portion of a roll, if you've got an extra roll of quarters, or if you have to have 2 rolls of quarters in order to, one roll for you and one for us,
Yeah.
And he says whatever the fraction is until it gets to that, it goes. Give it to the house.
Round it up, yeah.
Yeah, and give it to the so it's a 50-50 split, and any
Actually,
loose
with a
change
bonus to the house.
loose change goes to the house. Yeah. And he was that way, and he was a decent man to work for, and he did not run any illegal machines.
Nope, and he did well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was in business for a long time. Oh, well, let me tell you, the other guy did well too.
Yeah.
They both did well, but
The other guy probably isn't in business anymore, though.
I think he may still be.
Really?
I don't know. I don't know.
What happened to Army Buddy?
Army Buddy went back to Texas, and I never heard any more from Army Buddy.
Was he a good guy that was fun with you?
Oh, I'll tell you who Army Buddy was. Army Buddy was the guy who was the first guy there every morning and unlocked the building and turned the lights on, and he was the first guy there. He was often the last guy to leave at night. Army Buddy was the guy who picked up all the extra stuff, like if the actual owner didn't want to have to go out on this call, Army Buddy would catch it. Army Buddy worked nearly every waking hour.
Trying to put in because he was getting 10% of the company.
Yeah, all of
Just
it.
trying to
But
show,
the whole reason Army Buddy was called to start with is because this guy knew that Army Buddy worked that way, and would be a great guy to. He was of all the people that he knew, there was this one guy in Texas that would be the employee he'd want. And he got him up there, and sure enough, Army
figured he could sucker him too.
I know he
plain and
did.
simple.
Yeah. And Army Buddy, Army Buddy never slacked off. Army Buddy was working all the time, and like I say, Army Buddy was almost always the first person there. That's who unlocked the door and turned the alarm off and turned the lights on and stuff like that. And when you got to work on time, Army Buddy was already there and had opened up the shop, and stuff like that. And when it was time to go home at night, like let's head home, Army Buddy. Well, as soon as I finish this last little piece I'm tinkering on, you might leave, and he'd still be working, And we took turns who would be on call. And but if the owner wanted to get out of anything, he could always say, "How will you catch this one for me?" Army Buddy would do it, that kind of thing. Yeah, no, Army Buddy was put in the hours. He definitely put in the hours, and he wasn't goofing off during those hours. He was, making sure everything was working and doing his job. We had a lot of territory to cover and a lot of work to do. So I mean, it took us all to do it. And so I always bear that in mind. If somebody's the kind of person that demands that a split be in their favor, then I back off. I don't work with them. Also, it's been so from that experience, it has shown me that law enforcement people seem to be the people that want to run an illegal gambling machine and stuff like that. This is just from my experience. It's hard. I generalize from what I've seen. I can't speak for all of them. But, all the ones I've encountered, it's been something like that.
Well, here's a conspiracy theory then. I'm reading between your lines here. Not that you said this, but I'm just...
Right, don't make me have to tell more stories because there's not much time left.
I'm just coming up with a conspiracy here.
All right.
What if Van Duncan's getting rid of all of those people so that he can bring in his own people?
That is the lesson of history. From one regime to the next
Which makes
regime.
him look all high and mighty. That look what he's doing. He's getting rid of all this illegal gambling and stuff. And then next thing you know,
that's
next
why
year
it is.
it's all going on again.
That's why they say we need a revolution.
Difficult with the federal law changing though, and to It would have to be new illegal things going on. It couldn't be the same illegal thing.
And
yes, it could.
I want to make the point too that it's not Van Dungen. I don't think it's doing it. It's the federal government. It's FBI. Even though he'll be able to run on his ticket next time and say, look what I did.
Because for every action,
Look what was cleaned up under my.
But it wasn't really. It started before his.
For every action, there's a reaction.
Well, that's what happens. You get one regime in, and they come in, and they're the good guys. But as they become more and more powerful, and given time, part of it is laws of physics. That given time, that systems deteriorate, and become corrupt. And that happens on a physical level, and it happens on the level of systems like governments and stuff like that too.
All
That's
systems
why it was.
that have money and power. It's a human.
Was it Jefferson that said that we should have a revolution every 30 years or something like that? I don't know.
As along those lines, yeah.
Was it 30 years, or do you remember?
I can't remember the time.
Who it was and what it was?
The government basically had complete control.
Yeah, well,
Which they've had for a long time.
We're like 100 years anyway past due having a revolution. And what happens is you watch the government work itself into a situation where it can and does become corrupt.
Yeah.
And
now there's so many corrupt people in it now. It'd be hard. You'd have to start all over.
That's what I'm suggesting.
Yeah.
That's what I'm suggesting. And I suspect
that bridge that fell down. There's a lot of corrosion and
corruption there.
Yeah, the corrosion is like
I've heard
They tried to repair it.
I've heard some conspiracies about that. You're talking about the one in Minnesota?
Yeah.
I heard some conspiracies about sound wave generators may have caused that with new sound-based weaponry that the government's been working on.
I think it's just rusty bolts. Things are rusty. If you ever seen the infrastructure in New York, things are rusty. The West Side Highway was once a West Side Highway, and then now it's a skylight and kind of a walkway, but highways all across the nation are just folding in.
Right.
You have a class tonight?
Yeah.
You better do your.
No, until 7:30.
I know, but you better do your scientific.
If it's on
scientifically proven fact. We have some new ones, don't we? Do we have some new scientifically proven facts?
Well, if you put a piece of
candy
sugar on a turntable and try and cut music into it, it won't work.
Okay. If it's a scientific fact that if you eat a DVD, it's going to come out feeling worse than it did going in.
Yeah, make sure there's sugar before you eat them, and they're candy. Yeah, yeah.
And as long as something's moving on the screen, and noise coming out of the box, people will sit and watch it. And Jonathan?
Oh, I thought there was a new one today.
I don't know what it is. I can't remember.
It's a scientifically proven fact that if you suffer from explosive diarrhea, your pending appointments may or may not be pushed back. They might be pushed back.
Instead of pushed out,
that's the true story of what my day was about, and I have been apologizing to everybody along the way ever since. But this is the first group that I explained it to what the problem was. I've just been saying, I'm sorry I'm late. I'm sorry I'm late. I'm sorry I'm late.
Thank you for sharing. I'm sure the audience will.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
Well, yeah, we fess up come tea time. It all comes out.
No holds barred.
Yeah. Right, and you whatever you've lost, you will find it in the last place you look for it.
And it's a scientifically proven fact that the way you always start your day is you wake up.
And, on a good day. Those are on the good
Unless
day.
you're dead.
Right. How about you? You have any? Just shout
It's a
it out.
scientifically proven fact that if you're still up at 12:01, it's tomorrow.
And things are a lot more like they are now than they ever have been.
Yep. Jeez, my day doesn't start till 9 p.m.
9 p.m.
9 p.m.
Today? No.
Oh yeah. I will still be asleep for another 2 hours.
Okay. Good for you.
I've
been trying. For a few years there, I was trying to learn how to sleep and party at the same time. I was trying to perfect that. Well, it was going pretty good for a while, but
Depends on how you party.
Unfortunately, your body crashes eventually.
Well, that's why I had to sleep and party at the same time. Didn't.
The last one into town's a ring-tailed coyote.
The Starpacker with John Wayne.